And today is going to be so fun and easy. I'm so excited. I've been so excited for this class since I dated this February 15th. That's how far in advance I do these um, to prepare for class. Um, this is just a field of clovers with a rainbow on top. It's really, really simple. Um, so I'm going to put my sample to the side. We're going to just be using watercolor and um a Sharpie pen, but I also have this like green pen here that I thought would be interesting to use as well. Um so but you don't need a green pen, you just need a black pen and some watercolor, and I will be using a sponge to make the rainbow, but you can just use a thin brush and just go like color by color. So we're just going to start off with that. We're going to start off with our rainbow first. And I have my extremely messy um, watercolor palette, my 12 color watercolor palette. I feel like 12 colors is all you need in any color palette, whether it's like, yeah, like for paint specifically, because it's like really easy to mix. For colored pencils, I like 24, but anyway. Because this basically has every primary, secondary, and tertiary color. And I'm going to be using this magenta instead of like red for the red, just because I think it looks cuter. But you can use red if you like. I like the pink more. It makes it feel more spring to me. So I'm going to take a thin brush, and it's really wet. You can see it's all like glimmery and shiny. And you can already see where I've stained my brush, my sponge. I'm going to dip my brush into each color and just stain like stripes along my sponge, basically, and like really saturate the sponge and flick some paint onto my paper in the process because I'm being careless. Now we're gonna go into orange, and I think I used this orange. This is like orange and yellow. And I probably used that because my regular orange is like has like green in it. You can clean a watercolor palette. I'm just lazy. So when you put the stripes on the sponge like this, it kind of like it'll do like a natural gradient from each color on its own, which is what we want. We don't really want like a hard line. So now we're going into our yellow, which is the lightest color here. And then we're going to do green and blue. Green, blue, and then purple. So yeah, we're gonna use this yellow green here, which is like the green I think of when I think of St. Patrick's Day, to be honest. And you can see it like bleeding into the yellow on the sponge, and that's totally fine. That's like the point. I'm just going back and forth on the sponge, making sure that it's covered. And then I'm going to go into this blue here, this light blue. And then we'll do the purple right after, but definitely need some more blue action. And I'm just really happy that today is just a beautiful spring day, dipping into this dark indigo here for our purple color. I guess I just like tertiary colors a lot more than like primary and secondary colors. By the way, if you don't know, tertiary colors are each primary and secondary color mixed together. So primary color is yellow, secondary color is orange, yellow, orange. Primary color is yellow, secondary color is green, yellow, green, like that. Um, just because I think there's more like nuance to them. It's not all the way blue and it's not all the way green. It's a little bit of both. And I like things like that. But yeah, we have our sponge covered here on the tip. So we're just gonna go in. I'm going to move my page down so I don't knock my wrist. And I'm just going to make an arch like that. Ta-da! So now, of course, we have to go over it. The red took really well, so I think we can leave her as is. But we'll just go in with like the rest of the colors here. Line by line. Um, and you could have done this from the jump, by the way, with the brush. I like the sponge because it gives me like an easy guideline to follow. So yeah, we got that orange. Gonna dip into yellow here and swipe along the yellow. And because they're all wet still, like when I go across, like they'll like bleed into each other like that, which I think is a really cool and fun effect. And I think I want to beef up that orange a little bit more. I think it's kind of getting lost in the yellow, especially right here. Just one continuous swipe. I'm moving my whole arm across, like I'm moving from my elbow, not just my wrist. Um, because that's most comfortable for me, and that's how I'm going to get like the steadiest hand when I do this. So we're going in with our green now. Go green. I've really been loving the color green lately. I don't know if you noticed, but like the tips of my nails are green. Um, when I was a kid, my favorite colors were pink and green, and those are complementary colors because pink is just a light red, and red and green are opposite of each other on the color wheel. I actually think, speaking of pink and green, I think I do want to go back into the pink part of the rainbow here. So I feel like after like going over the other three colors, it was looking a little too pale, you know? Watercolor will always dry lighter than it applies. So you want to keep that in mind, that even though it may look really nice and strong on the paper right now, it's because the pigment is still activated and wet. All right, now we're going in with our blue, which I feel like is almost completely lost, if we're being real, especially here. Our pink, our blue and our indigo are like totally lost. Like our indigo is like where did she go? I don't know. We're gonna bring her back though, right now. Had a little bit too much on my brush there. Had to wipe off that excess. I think this is looking really good. That's our rainbow. Um, like seriously, that's it. That's our rainbow. She's done. Now we're going to move on to our green field here. This is an abstract piece, which are my favorite kind of pieces to do because it says more about the person making them than what it is depicting. And I used a couple of different kinds of greens here, but we'll just start with like our lightest green, our yellow green first, and then we'll add in some other colors. First things first, though, I'm using a brush with a rounded tip. I'm going to just put clear water on the paper here. We're doing a wet on wet technique. For our rainbow, we did a wet on dry, which is our wet paint on our dry paper. But for this, we're doing wet on wet because we're covering a large area and I want it to spread very easily. I just got all up on my mic there. I'm not going to take it to the edges of the paper. As a stylistic choice, and I think the paper will have an easier time drying. I'm like rotating my head around to see like where there might be any dry spots left. I think there's like a big dry spot here in the middle. All right, we're going in with our yellow green. If you don't have yellow green on your palette, you can just mix yellow and green. And you see how it's like, it's really easy to bring across the paper. That's actually just regular green. I just realized. This is our yellow green. I got confused with my greens. So I'm just swirling my brush around in some circular motions. Like like these. Just having fun. Filling up all the water that I placed on the paper. So now I'm gonna go in with some like regular green and like stipple. I'm holding my brush all the way out here. My hand is nowhere near the tip of my brush. So it gives me a very light hand and it like puts control more so in the brush itself than like me. And we're doing all this, of course, while the green underneath is still wet because we want the colors to blend in with each other. Got like a pool of water going on over here at the edge because the paper is curling up a little bit. You just want to be quick. You don't want to like think about it too much. The point is to not think, but to just do and have fun while you do. I like the way this looks. Now we're gonna add some blue green just for that real like lush. Spring vibe. Again, I'm just stippling. I'm doing the same thing I was doing with the regular green. I'd say we're making pretty good progress here. I want to have some like over here, I think. Maybe over here. Just have like a few stragglers. Just like all around. Okay. Rainbows go in the sky. So we're gonna paint our light blue sky. Very simple. While we wait for our grass to dry. Um, I don't know. I'm going to take my thin brush again, and I'm going to use a lot of water. And just go around and kind of leave a white border around all the existing objects, starting with my rainbow. Every time my paint gets a little dry, I just add more water to my brush and I keep it pushing. Very, very simple. Very, very simple. I'm using a thin brush because I want to make sure that I don't get anything like past my white borders. Like I don't want my colors to overlap or touch. I think it gives it like a really fun, youthful, like childlike look to the piece. But if you want your colors to touch, you can. Yeah, we're gonna lay down some water here. I want to use some water here to like buff out those wet marks that I got going on. Gonna add like a little more blue to the sky down here so that it's not so pale and like invisible. Um, and folks, we are finished with the painting portion of this project, more or less. So, Little Miss Sharpie pen. I love Sharpie pens so much. I need to buy more. This is my last one. I do not want to smear any of my wet paint. My rainbow itself is dry. I'm pressing my fingers pretty hard and nothing. So in that case, I'm gonna flip my page upside down so that I can still rest my hand on the paper. And I'm just going to follow the outline of the colors. In one continuous line. Who cares if it's perfect? The wibbles and wobbles give it some charm. It gives you something interesting to look at. I'm going to close each line with like a little loop. A little half circle, a scallop. I don't know, there's a lot of ways to describe that. And we're done with our rainbow. pretty much. My grass is still damp. You can see it still has some shine to it, like specifically right there, right here. Um, and some other spots. So I'm going to be careful to make sure that I don't want to. We're going to zoom in though. Because now we're going to start drawing all of our little clovers. This is the fun part for me. This is the relaxing part for me. Let's zoom in a little bit more so that you can see how I draw. I basically just draw like three hearts connecting each other. That's one heart. That's two hearts. And that's three hearts. That's it. That's how you draw a three-leaf clover. You can sneak in some four-leaf clovers in here if you're feeling lucky. Another way that I've drawn some clovers is just three loops like that. Um, but I like to keep those at a smaller size because they're like a simpler shape. They're like just three teardrops instead of three hearts. I'm going slow because my page is still wet and it's impacting how my pen shows up. And I like to rotate the paper because I can only draw it. I can only draw a clover like starting with the top leaf. So if I rotate the paper, then I can draw them all different directions because they don't all grow in the same direction, right? So you might have noticed that usually when I do watercolor pieces, I tape down my page, but I did not do that for this piece on purpose. Because I knew that I was going to be rotating the page. And you can't really do that when it's taped down to the table, can you? I really recommend waiting for this to dry completely before continuing with this because I'm having a hard time like with the Sharpie. But let's see. Let's do another big one here. Just like a nice big one. Small little baby, itty bitty baby. Like you can probably tell that my pen is like streaky, and I don't like that. I want the lines to be bold. Like that's the whole reason why we're using a Sharpie pen. Let's see. Let's like draw a big one out here in the middle of nowhere. Let's make this a four leaf. To make it a four leaf, you just add a fourth leaf. It's pretty simple. A strategy you could do is start by adding like your bigger clovers all around and then build like smaller clovers around it. Like I just drew that one. Let's maybe like let's rotate and draw another one like over here. So you can make it as crowded or as sparse as you want, but I think it's more fun if it's like crowded. But you know, it's up to you how many clovers you draw ultimately. I feel like I want a bigger one over here, but it's still quite wet in this corner, so gotta go slow. Really, I want to draw one right here. And yeah, I think this up here is like the driest, so I can really like go crazy, you know? Like where I draw them.
Happy St. Patrick's Day from Gerard in the chat. Happy St. Patrick's Day to you, Gerard.
Yeah, happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody. We'll do another like small little baby loops. See, like on a side that's dry, it's like really easy to have it show up, you know? Against the paint. The reason why I'm making the clovers different sizes also is because it's kind of like impossible to draw them all the same size freehand anyway, so I just thought it would be fun to lean into that. And some clovers are like little baby clovers and some are like bigger. I don't know if you guys like need instruction from me beyond this point, but this is just like so mesmerizing and relaxing. Like you can just get lost in this process. Let's see. And I guess while we work on this area, like the other areas of the page will dry and we'll be able to move on as we fill it up. And we're gonna do like a bigger one and a smaller one and another smaller one. I'm like all the way out here. I'm feeling like drawing another four leaf. Look at all the clovers I got going on. Woo! You just want to like draw them so fast you don't even think about it. Just keep drawing all these little hearts that converge. I'm like knocking into my things as I rotate my paper. It's also like so hot today, or it feels hot in my room, which is weird because yesterday it was cold enough to have my heat on. I'm not a fan of inconsistent temperature. I find it confusing. You know? one day you're wearing a coat and a scarf, and the next you're like in a t-shirt. It's really weird. Oop. Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. I almost want to put on some music. I definitely recommend, like, if you're an avid music listener, to listen to music while you draw, listen to music while you have the Zoom on in the background, maybe some classical, some lo-fi. My favorite type of music to listen to, like instrumental music. Oh, Gerard has commented Steve Lawrence has died at 88 of Alzheimer's disease. Hmm. Rest in peace.
That's sad.
I hope he lived a very long and happy life. I mean, 88 years is a long time. As I was saying though, my favorite music to listen to, like instrumental music to listen to while I work on like art or like floor plans for school or something, is like drum and bass, jungle, ambient music. I love drum breaks. Like it just something about it. It just activates my brain and gets my creativity flowing. But for other people, it's like classical music or like I mentioned, lo-fi hip hop, which is just low fidelity. Do-do-do, do-do-do. Let's zoom out here. Let's check it out. Let's check out our progress. Like we got like a third of the way. You see? I'm gonna leave it zoomed out so that you can see how I rotate my paper as I go around, because I think you guys get the motion of how to draw each individual clover. But if you want me to go over it again, please leave a comment or just unmute yourself and ask through your microphone. Just wanted to draw like a little baby one. Mm. Yeah, I think my whole page is dry now, so you can see it's not shiny anymore. So I can just kind of go crazy and put clovers everywhere. That one's kind of wonky. It's a wonky clover. I want one here. So I drew one there. You see how simple that is? Anywhere you want one, you just draw it. It's like it's like magic. Let's like rotate it on an angle so that we get like definitely want to like crowd around my four-leaf clover here. We are meant to be. Four-leaf clover. Thank you. Have to sign off a little early. Oh, thank you, Julie, for joining. Yeah, we're just, you can take it from here. You can come back and finish this piece later. It's not really, it's just all these like very relaxing, fun, repetitive motions. So, funny story about like my simpler shape. I actually like I started out drawing the clovers like that, and I was like, that doesn't look right. And so then I thought about it more and I'm like, no, clovers are like a little heart shape. So this was actually like a mistake. Um, and I just rolled with it and I just mixed them in with like the more accurate clover drawings. And I like the way it came out, so I'm doing it again. Which is, like what Bob Ross says about happy accidents and things like that. But we got about 10 minutes left. I'm not going to finish this in 10 minutes, but I'm going to keep going. And now I'm just going to, like, this is a way to do it so that, like, you draw a bunch in one direction, in the same direction, but they're all, like, all over the place. So it's not like you have an area of all of them facing the same direction, you know? And then when you rotate it, you draw another bunch, like, in that direction. So it looks sporadic and natural instead of, like, planned and methodical. And let's do It's time to rotate. Let's do a loop. You know, some of these clovers, truthfully, are really wonky. This one's weird. This one's weird. This one's really weird. It almost looks like a butterfly, which might be fun to add to this piece in like marker or something, actually. Over top backdrop. This one's a mess. It's probably my least favorite clover that I've drawn. This one right here. We're going all over the field. This would be fun to do with like daisies. It would probably be more difficult though, for sure. I would have to do it with like, I mean, I could definitely do it digitally on like my iPad or something. If I were to do it in watercolor, I couldn't do like white daisies because to get white with watercolor, you just leave the paper white. That's literally it. There's no white painting with watercolor. And like, I can't get my brain to think like that unless I draw it out first. And then it has to be like a really meticulous drawing. It would just take too long. But I can certainly imagine doing this with another type of plant. Maybe tulips would be fun. You could do tulips. That would be really, really cute. I love tulips. Yeah, we're coming to a close, and I think we filled up most of the field at this point, you know? Rotated our paper about 7 billion times. Get like every angle possible. Just gonna add some more of these loops. My happy accidents, you know? I got too much into the motion of drawing clovers. I mean, they're all clovers, but like, you know, regular clovers. And yeah, it seems like it's about to be 5. So thank you guys so much for joining me on this beautiful, sunny, warm spring day. I hope you guys have a happy St. Patrick's Day, a happy spring. I'll be back in 2 weeks where we'll be doing a piece by a woman artist that I really like. And I hope to put you guys on to her. So, yeah, thank you.